golden drop of resin glistens in the darkness. Within its glow, a tiny brush of chestnut and white feathers is trapped. They spread out in a fan from a slender, severed tail. Upon closer inspection, small vertebrae of a long, extinct creature are visible beneath the down. This is not the tail of any bird. It belongs to a dinosaur, perfectly preserved in amber. More than 99 million years have passed since this little theropod roamed the forest of the Cretaceous period, and now it lies here before us. In this fossilized resin, life and death are intertwined. A moment that occurred in the age of dinosaurs has been preserved for eons. Scientists have uncovered numerous such unexpected scenes, frozen in haunting detail. What secrets do these ancient time capsules hold? Each piece of amber is a window into a vanished world, preserving snapshots of life that ignite the imagination. Today we're about to embark on a journey through these windows. We'll witness the final moments of creatures found in perfect condition. We'll see how amber preserves not only bodies but also the behaviors of ancient animals. And we'll delve into how a tiny detail trapped in resin was able to challenge our understanding of evolution. The answers begin with the resin itself, a sticky substance that oozed from the bark of prehistoric trees during the age when dinosaurs ruled the earth. In the humid jungles of the Cretaceous period, resin served as a natural defense for trees, a vicious balm meant to seal wounds and trap unwelcome visitors. But this sticky substance could capture far more than microbes. A crawling insect, an unsuspecting spider, even a tiny lizard or a feather drifting on the wind. All could become hopelessly entangled upon touching the oozing resin. As it flowed, the viscous liquid buried its victim, completely enveloping fragile wings and limbs. Isolated from air and bacteria, the resin underwent a slow transformation. Over millions of years, buried beneath layers of sediment, polymerized and fossilized, becoming amber, a natural time capsule. What makes amber so remarkable is its unparalleled preservation. Unlike ordinary rock fossils, which retain only bones or imprints, amber can preserve the softest tissues and tiniest organisms in astonishing three-dimensional detail. Under a microscope, amber's inhabitants often appear as if they died yesterday. Their colors, textures, and even microscopic cells sometimes remain untouched. Organisms that rarely fossilize elsewhere, such as insects, spiders, flowers, feathers, hair, and tiny parasites, all find refuge in amber's embrace. Yet these untouched fossils also pose a mystery. They capture moments so vividly that we must interpret history from a single frozen frame. Each fossilized specimen invites us to unravel a unique secret. Why did this creature become trapped? What does its posture tell us about its final moments? What broader story of ancient ecosystems might a cluster of insects and resin reveal? Imagine a humid tropical forest 100 million years ago. A parasitic wasp flits among fern leaves and lands on a branch, right into the barely visible threads of a web. In an instant, a spider lunges forward. Just at the moment its fangs are about to strike, a drop of resin drips from the branch above, engulfing both spider and wasp mid-battle. Incredible as it seems, this very scene is preserved in amber, a Cretaceous orb weaver spider mere inches from sinking its fangs into the captured wasp, both creatures frozen in the moment of attack. This is the only known fossil of a spider caught in the act of hunting. The wasp's wings are still spread in a futile struggle. The spider's leg is raised for the strike. An ancient drama, forever suspended in golden resin. Even the spider's web itself is preserved in this grim snapshot. Yet not all ancient battles were so grand. Some were microscopic skirmishes with epic consequences. And another piece of amber discovered in the fall of 2025 in a quarry in the Amazon jungle, a tiny biting midge is preserved. Its mouth parts, a proboscis adapted for piercing skin, are clearly visible. Based on what we know of its modern relatives, this tiny fly likely fed on the blood of dinosaurs wandering beneath the resin-coated trees. It was a vector of the diseases of its time, potentially transmitting blood-borne parasites from one host to another. Trapped in resin immediately after feeding, this midge sparks a fascinating possibility. Inside its body could lie the blood of a sauropod or a feathered predator. Alongside it, other insects from this 112-million-year-old Ecuadorian amber, mosquitoes, gnats, biting flies, paint a picture of a buzzing Cretaceous ecosystem teeming with life. Here, amber has preserved thirsty parasites that probably tormented dinosaurs as much as mosquitoes plague animals and humans today. Speaking of parasites, in one discovery, scientists studying Burmese amber found a blood-feeding tick trapped next to a dinosaur feather. Its last meal likely the blood of the feather's original owner. The thought sends a chill down the spine, a tick gorged on dinosaur blood, frozen in resin and time, like a scene straight out of Jurassic Park. While usable DNA has not survived, the scene itself confirms that ticks plague dinosaurs much as they bother birds and mammals today. Even smaller parasites have been found. Insect-like lice, only fractions of a millimeter long, also discovered on dinosaur feathers and preserved in 100-million-year-old amber. These tiny pests, named Mesophotheris, gnawed on feathers, leaving bite marks as evidence of their feast. In fact, a single fossilized feather in amber shows significant gnawing damage characteristic of louse infestation. Preservation is so flawless that these Cretaceous dino lice can be studied almost as if they were living insects, with finely detailed antennae and even fully formed mouth parts clearly visible. But sometimes amber preserves not signs of attack or biting, but subtler ecological interactions. In early Cretaceous amber from Spain, scientists discovered a cluster of beetle larvae surrounded by downy dinosaur feathers. The feathers are not pristine, they're worn and even covered with fungal hyphae, feathers that had fallen from the dinosaur and begun to decay. The tiny larvae belong to a beetle species related to modern dermestids, or skin beetles, which today are known for feeding on shed feathers and hair in bird nests. The scene itself suggests a dinosaur nest lined with feathers inhabited by these larvae. At one point, resin seeped into the nest and preserved this interaction for eternity. This find is one of the most compelling examples of vertebrate-anthropod interactions in the paleontological record. Alongside the stories of insects and arachnids, larger creatures also met their fate in resin. High in the branches of a Cretaceous forest, a gecko scuttled along the bark in search of insects. The toes of this tiny lizard are remarkable. They're equipped with microscopic rows of hair-like lamella that allow it to cling even upside down. Ironically, those very sticky toe pads led to its demise when it attempted to run across fresh resin. In one piece of Burmese amber, scientists found a small gecko foot frozen forever. Its delicate lamellae spread naturally across the toes. Under magnification, individual setae, the microscopic hairs that enabled the gecko to grip surfaces and defy gravity, are clearly visible. This is the oldest gecko fossil ever discovered, a fragment that pushed back the record of geckos by 40 million years. Paleontologists named it Cretaceous gecko. In the amber, only the foot, toes, and a small portion of the tail were preserved. What intrigues researchers is why only the foot remains. One grim hypothesis is that the animal was caught mid-hunt, perhaps seized by a small dinosaur or another predator that tore it apart, leaving behind only the fragment that was engulfed in the resin. Whatever the exact cause, what remains is extraordinary. It confirms that the gecko's remarkable ability to climb trees existed at least 100 million years ago. This was not the only lizard immortalized in amber. In a piece of Baltic amber dating to the Eocene, around 54 million years ago, researchers discovered half of a small gecko's body, a specimen later named Yantero gecko, meaning amber gecko. Remarkably, one of its limbs still preserved the fibrillar toe pads on its feet. Although the internal skeleton had decomposed, contours of the skin and the structure of the toe pads remained, preserving the gecko's climbing apparatus millions of years after its death. Next, the amber trail of clues leads us from tiny lizards to the dinosaurs themselves. For decades, paleontologists dreamed of finding dinosaur DNA or dinosaur blood trapped in amber by a mosquito. While DNA remains out of reach, fossilized resin has finally offered something almost equally astonishing: fragments of dinosaurs with flesh and bone. Previously, scientists had discovered feathers, beautiful, isolated with delicate barbs and even microscopic color patterns. Yet, until recently, no one had found a dinosaur that could be directly linked to such feathers. That changed in 2015 when a researcher browsing the amber market in Myanmar noticed what a seller thought was a plant inclusion in a polished piece of amber. Inside the golden chunk was a feathered tail of a small dinosaur, bones and all. It was the tip of the tail of a juvenile coelurosaur, about 1.5 inches long. Reddish-brown feathers grew on all sides of the central tail vertebra, forming a dense tuft. Careful study with microscopes and CT scans revealed 8 or 9 tiny vertebrae inside, perfectly preserved. Even traces of soft tissue and possibly blood, indicated by iron from hemoglobin, were detected. The feathers were preserved in 3D, revealing features paleontologists had only inferred from flat fossils. They were fluffy, with a weak or absent central shaft. This suggested they resembled ornamental plumage rather than the stiff flight feathers of modern birds. In fact, this fossilized fragment provided direct evidence of how feathers evolved, showing that fine barbs and barbules developed first, followed later by a strong central quill. Such a discovery implied that even non-flying dinosaurs could have used their feathers for display or insulation. One researcher remarked that working with this specimen was as close as we're ever going to get to petting a dinosaur. Indeed, the level of preservation, glossy feathers with chestnut hues on top and white underneath, intact bones and soft tissues, makes this ancient tail astonishingly tangible. By confirming the tail structure, the vertebrae were not fused as in birds. Scientists could say unequivocally, this is a non-avian dinosaur, not a prehistoric bird. This discovery filled the gap between feathered dinosaurs and birds, almost literally at the midpoint of evolution. It's no wonder that Dr. Ryan McKellar, one of the leading researchers, called it the most important amber specimen to date, a piece that ties everything together. And to think, this treasure was on the verge of being sold as a rare item on the market, destined for a necklace or collector box. How many more wonders of the prehistoric past might still go unnoticed on the bazaars of Myanmar? As amber treasures continued to emerge from Myanmar's mines, other prehistoric marvels were revealed. Even the birds of the dinosaur era found themselves embraced by resin. One example is the discovery of 2 tiny bird wings in a Burmese amber, so exquisitely preserved that their tips reveal skin, muscles, and even fine claws. These wings, just a few inches long, belong to chicks of a group known as enantiornithines, an early branch of birds that lived alongside dinosaurs and perished in the same mass extinction. The feathers on these 99-million-year-old wings are layered like those of modern birds, with alternating patterns of dark and light bars still visible. X-ray scans revealed the bones inside, showing that the wings belonged to young individuals who already had fully developed flight feathers. It appears these chicks may have been capable of flight shortly after hatching, an adaptation for survival in a world full of predators. For scientists accustomed to flat rock fossils, seeing such intact plumage and bones was mind-blowingly cool. The details are extraordinary. Asymmetrical flight feathers for active flying, overlapping covert feathers like shingles, all the hallmarks of a modern avian flight apparatus present in a creature from the mid-Cretaceous. One of these wing specimens earned the nickname Angel because a jeweler had intended to carve it into a pendant called Angel's Wings. The amber had been sold for adornment, but when paleontologist Lita Zing and his colleagues examined the piece, their hearts raced. It contained not just feathers, but the bones attached to them, a clear sign of a complete wing. CT scans confirmed that they were looking at an almost entire miniature wing of a dinosaur-era bird, preserved in its natural form. Just as with the discovery of the dinosaur tail, it took a sharp eye and a bit of luck to rescue this scientific gem from being polished into jewelry. By 2015 alone, about 10 tons of amber were extracted from northern Myanmar, some of which contains fossils. Every piece split open by scientists holds the potential for new discoveries about ancient life. One of the most remarkable finds was an almost complete bird hatchling trapped in a cloudy piece of amber. It includes most of the spine, a wing, a leg, and the back of the skull, making it the most complete bird hatchling ever discovered in amber. This hatchling has been identified as an Ananta orithine bird, and in life it would have looked almost alien. Its tiny beak contained sharp teeth, and each wing still bore clawed fingers, features long lost in modern birds. Paleontologists concluded that the hatchling was likely only a few days old when it met its sticky demise. Its body shows downy feathers on the head and neck with more developed flight feathers on the wings. One can even imagine it peeking out of a nest high in the trees when tragedy struck. With such exquisite preservation, one might think identifying creatures trapped in amber would be straightforward. Yet amber can be deceptive. In 2020, a sensational announcement was made. A tiny skull just 14 millimeters long was proclaimed the smallest dinosaur ever found. Named Oculodentavis, it was presented as a dinosaurian bird, the size of a hummingbird, with a long, narrow snout and bulging lizard-like eyes, a true evolutionary eccentric fluttering throughout the Cretaceous. Almost immediately doubts arose. Something didn't add up. The teeth of Oculodentavis were fused to the jawbone, a feature unusual for birds but common in lizards. The shape of certain skull bones also resembled a reptile more than a bird. As more experts examined the amber and a second similar specimen was discovered, the truth became clear. Oculodentavis was not a dinosaur bird at all, but a bizarre type of lizard. The original scientific paper was retracted. Researchers still debate exactly what kind of lizard it was, perhaps a very primitive squamate or something even more ancient in the reptile lineage. This episode reminds us that amber, despite its clarity, can still hide secrets that require patience and technology to uncover. From the Triassic period to the present day, fossilized resin has been capturing glimpses of vanished worlds. The oldest amber discovered to date dates back to 230 million years, to the late Triassic, long before dinosaurs became the dominant species. In these ancient drops of Italian amber, scientists found tiny mite astonishingly similar to modern plant-feeding gall mites. Although these fossils are 230 million years old, they already display the specialized form of today's gall mites, limbless, cigar-shaped bodies with just 2 pairs of legs, adapted for parasitizing plants. Their existence in the Triassic was completely unexpected. It seems that even at that early time, they possess many modern traits, as if time has stood still for these creatures. They fed on the leaves of conifer trees in the era of the first dinosaurs, and their descendants still crawl across leaves today, almost totally unchanged. Amber, by preserving such ancient living fossils, shows that some lineages survive with minimal changes across incomprehensible spans of time. Similarly, Miocene amber, about 20 million years old, has yielded lizards and insects that are almost indistinguishable from their modern counterparts. 17 fossilized analyst chameleons in the Dominican amber were studied and found to be morphologically nearly identical to their living relatives in the Caribbean. Over these 20 million years, climates changed, yet the forms of these tiny creatures remained virtually unchanged, as if evolution had pre-designed a winning blueprint. These examples highlight an important truth. Not all species undergo rapid change. Some remain steadfast in the evolutionary stream, their ancient bodies preserved almost unchanged to the present day. The amber record of life is as diverse as life itself. From fragments of ancient flowers and carnivorous plants with sticky traps, to a Miocene scorpion from Mexico with its curved stinger, from the delicate fur of mammals to feathers preserved side by side. The variety of inclusions is simply astounding. We see mother insects caring for their young, for example, a Cretaceous scale insect frozen with more than 60 eggs attached to her back, the earliest evidence of parental care in insects. We find evidence of evolutionary innovation such as the first ants from the dinosaur area, primitive yet already social. We hold keys to ancient habitats. Pollen and spores trapped in resin tell us about prehistoric forests, and even reveal transitional events like the rise of flowering plants in the Cretaceous. Each piece of amber is a chapter in the story of nature written in a language foreign to us. Cellulose, chitin, and resin. Deciphering these chapters has become both a thrilling and essential part of paleontology. And looking forward across millions of years, when the modern world has vanished from the geological record, what remnants of our own time might be preserved in the flawless embrace of ember?